Welcome to History Unraveled. Since specialists accepted that individuals who once lived there could uncover more around one of the best revelations of humankind, archaeologists in Jordan made a 14,400-year-old disclosure that unfortunately reworked mankind's set of experiences. We know that the earliest humans hunted and collected. Obviously, our predecessors around then were searching for food plants and hunting creatures for food. Yet, as the seasons change, the accessibility of food additionally expanded, provoking individuals to move to track down new wellsprings of food. This way of life really ranges the greater part of mankind's set of experiences. Be that as it may, there are still a few networks of trackers. This might be on the grounds that the regions where these individuals reside are bad places to develop harvests or raise creatures. As a result, their way of life has been studied to help experts learn more about the ancient hunter-gatherers. Obviously, every agrarian local area is unique, yet they actually share a few things, practically speaking. The greater part of them are tiny, with a couple dozen individuals, for instance, and the work is frequently split between agrarian networks. However, it's possible that the transition from hunter-gatherer agriculture to settled agriculture was gradual in terms of human agriculture. In point of fact, it would appear that a number of distinct societies around the world began farming independently. Hunting and assembling was, all things considered, a troublesome lifestyle, and developing one's own harvests might find given early ranchers harmony of brain that they wouldn't run out of food during lean seasons. So thought plants were first tamed around quite a while back, and creatures around 2,000 years from that point forward. However, between quite a while back and quite a while back, people began once more, of East Asia and North America, to cultivate various plants. Individuals developed homes that would keep going for broadened timeframes. Populaces thusly expanded in Southwest Asia. As a matter of fact, cultivating towns were being worked close to quite a while back. This region of the planet is presently known as the prolific bow. At that point, however, it became Mesopotamia, origination of one of mankind's most memorable, extraordinary human advancements. Despite the fact that different types of agriculture were used in various environments throughout the Americas, furthermore, as there were no creatures appropriate for pulling furrows, cultivating innovation was different to that in different regions of the planet. The Inca assembled terraced fields in Peru, for example, and the Maya and Aztecs utilized complex water system frameworks to help their social orders. China likewise saw the early improvement of cultivating networks. In the interim, there's even proof that the Chinese developed rice, millet, hemp, and Chinese cabbage to as long as quite a while back. As far as we know, paddy fields were created around 4330 BC to provide the ideal wetland environment for growing rice. The two friends this year lived in a community that transitioned to agriculture in Southwest Asia, and similar crops would eventually be grown in Korea and Japan. Agrarian culture was basically situated in the area's Mediterranean forests. Yet, shoe pastry specialist, one is really the first Natufian site beyond this center zone to be completely investigated by archaeologists. It is clearly ending up a gold mine of new data about agrarian food propensities to shoe dough puncher. One is situated in the piece of eastern Georgia known as the Dark Desert. This region is supposed due to the dark basalt stones that make up quite a bit of its scene. Also, you will track down it close to the line with Syria, around 82 miles from the Jordan's capital city of Amman. The Baker area is just one of several archaeologically significant locations on the site. One more site in the Dark Desert is, for example, called Jebel Kerma. This region has been concentrated widely due to the workmanship found on rocks close by. Truth be told, the 2,000-year-old engravings propose that the desert was not generally a dry and cold spot. It's even conceivable that there was once a critical populace. However, shoe pastry specialist one originates before the workmanship here and apparently demonstrates that the 2000s were nearby far before. It's maybe important that the Dark Desert is really a volcanic field. This field likewise ranges portions of Syria, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, making it the biggest volcanic field in Arabia. The all-out region is in excess of 19,000 square miles as a matter of fact, and it's the wellspring of the neighborhood bass modify rock that adjust in magma streams. At the point when the two balances were inhabiting Chewbacca one a while back, however, it was 4,000 years prior to cultivating became broad nearby than the two blades, nonetheless, apparently experience a more inactive way of life than the way of life that went before them. What's more, as the unearthings at shoe pastry specialists show, this significantly affected their eating routine. These digs occurred at Shoe Cook, one somewhere in the range of 2012-2015, despite the fact that the actual site was first found during the 1990s. The work was led by archaeologists from the University of Copenhagen, with assistance from Jordan's Antiquities Department. Different specialists included came from the College of Cambridge and College School London, UTL, and keeping in mind that there were likely once various structures at HSU for one. Bread cook, the analysts zeroed in on two things that are profoundly saved. Additionally, the ashes inside were radiocarbon dated to show that it was constructed during the Natufi era. That is the reason the scientists had the option to examine the cinders to figure out what the Natufians cooked and ate. Also, luckily, during the Natufian shoe, Cook one might have been muggy. So while the present dry environment makes it hard to develop food here, that was an alternate story in those days. A few farming items, like wheat, are now developed locally. As a matter of fact, archaeologists once accepted that the Natufians lived for millennia. Western Asia didn't get into agriculture for a while. The scientists took 49 examples from the fire and later dissected them utilizing extremely progressed machines. What they found was that in spite of the fact that they were not ranchers, the two camps had fostered every one of the methods expected to make their own bread. Today, entire grains can be viewed as all around the world and are a significant piece of many weight control plans. For instance, bread is thought not to have turned into a staple food until Neolithic ranchers could depend on developing their own grain to make bread. Researchers have been baffled by the Natufians' apparent bread-making rather than crop production. The shoemaker's revelation was made when he initially inspected the front portion. Incredibly, it is trusted that this innovation might one day at some point be utilized to reanalyze the remaining parts of recently found destinations. Laura Gonzalez Caratorel drove the group to examine the remains at UTL. Before beginning, the researchers must first establish criteria for separating bread from other traditional cereal products like porridge. To do this, Caratero had the option to see the minute particles and designs inside the bone with a magnifying lens. You can contrast tests with test bread for research. The expansion of gluten and different proteins to flour gives bread its surface. In this manner, bread is great for sprinters to compensate for the absence of calories in the crude vegetables they eat. Be that as it may, Caratero ought to have checked the Shubi bagel tests to check whether they matched his depiction of the bread. A magnifying instrument uncovered starch and a combination of wheat, oats, grain, and club, and the 224 examples run were like Caratero's. Because of this, the plants can work together to produce flours of high quality. It appeared to be freshly baked and could have been pita bread. The most widely recognized plants found in fire pits are bulbous bulbs, said botanist M. Aaron Ksrip, who additionally wrote the concentrate in late July 2018. They contended that the tubers were low in salt and had seeds. However, they were seedless in light of the fact that the researchers didn't perfect them appropriately. Notwithstanding, on their own they produce a gleaming meadowfoam batter that breaks effectively. So adding more wheat than these two fins would present would acquaint the essential gluten with change the surface of the mixture they can cook with. Basic bread. Since HSU bakers do not have oven displays, bread is baked over ashes or on hot stones near a fire. One of the reasons flat bread was popular in the ancient world was because it could be baked without using an oven. Another reason was that it was easy to package, transport, and store. At long last, past investigation of the Natufian site uncovered old stone cleaning devices and sickle cutting edges. Despite the fact that Pascal is the main master on the science behind grains, bread has been the focal point of a few investigations she has composed. And the prevalence of flatbreads looked at over different assortments proposes that tracker finders, he said that it might have been an optimal method for overcoming any issues between pens. Ranchers beating bread. McGovern's subject matter is old lager, and in July 2018, he thought almost certainly 2 Finns might have made brew by controlling grain to make bread, and in September 2018. On the moon, they made an extreme, enormous lager. Israel has given proof of a 13,000-year-old bottling works. However, bread production is a work-concentrated process, and these 2 fields probably had valid justification to battle. As a matter of fact, similar to teeth, iron needed to strip, grind, and heat the grain. Indeed, even in present-day culture, the significance of bread goes past its healthy benefit. At long last, Augie accepts that bread has one more significant spot in current culture in light of its relationship with religion and significant customs. Even experts are of the opinion that bread is an essential component of the cultural history that modern humans and their ancestors shared. Perceive the representative worth of bread in current culture. One of Christianity's most significant rituals is this: eating a slice of bread and drinking a taste of wine. Bread and wine are used in other parts of the Last Supper, which is a Jewish transitional festival called Passover. Passover was the day that God freed the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. Recognize the expression. In point of fact, Jews continue to observe Passover as one of their holiest holidays today. And eating matzo, a type of unleavened bread, is one way they do this. Assuming that bread was adequately significant to the Natufians, they might have even been roused to begin developing their own grain. In this manner, agribusiness might have begun on the grounds that the Natufians needed to deliver more bread. One of the following undertakings of the specialists is to explore whether baking was a calculate the start of grain development or not. The Danish Autonomous Exploration Board has assigned more cash for additional examination, and specialists need to additionally research the early utilization of plants and creatures in light of their most recent revelations. Donaghy additionally needs to reproduce Natufian bread. Augie still sees it as a way to connect with our Natufian ancestors, but McGovern agrees that it's interesting to study the ancients because they look like us in part. In this way, it appears to be that the revelation of bread in the shoemaking manufacturing plant can tell something other than about the historical backdrop of farming. It can see us something about mankind as in animal groups and how we came to be what we are currently. Thanks for watching. Don't forget liking, commenting, and subscribing.